Perfect. So we'll start tonight's meeting. I want to welcome everyone to the general meeting for June 8th, 2022. I am, if you haven't figured it out by now, Lenny Singletary, and I serve as the chair of Community Board 2. And our first vice chair is Mr. Leonard Jordan. And our second vice chair, always trying to keep us on time, is Barbara Zala-Gringer. And so there you have the executive officers for vice chairs of the community board. And then the last executive officer is our secretary, Jessica Thurston. And so now you have been fully introduced to the members of Community Board 2's executive committee. As we continue with the agenda, the remaining chairs and co-chairs of the committee will also introduce themselves and their co-chairs. And that way that everyone is fully introduced to officially the executive committee of Community Board 2. Everyone has had a chance, and you should have received the agenda for tonight's meeting. And with my introduction now, we've accomplished agenda item number 1. Everyone recognizes that the meeting is being recorded. Are there any changes to the agenda? I don't see any. So we'll move forward. We'll adopt tonight's agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes for May 2022? If you have any corrections, please email them to the board office. And with that, if there's no objections, we will adopt the minutes of May 2022. Moving on, this is where we are opening up to the public for any comments that may reflect something that you want to bring to the attention of the board that may not be addressed in tonight's agenda. Now, let me be clear. We still have committee meetings, and if there are committee meetings that are appropriate for your concerns, then I would encourage everyone to address those concerns to the committee meetings. But as it relates to tonight's agenda, if there's a pressing issue that you would like for us to focus on, we'll pause and allow the public, non-community board 2 members, to be able to address something and bring it to our attention. Okay, great. Hearing no comments or seeing anything in the chat, we'll continue with the agenda. And our first committee for action is the Finance and Personnel Committee, chaired by Mr. Leonard Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Singletary. Taya, could you put the budget up? The committee met on May 24th. And we have had, besides setting up meeting dates for our next meeting, we did approve a budget for fiscal year 2023. And I'm going to go through the line items there and also make some comments. One of the things also is that is up to this point, we have not received an official budget from the Office of Management and Budget, the OMB. However, we felt that it was necessary for us to come up with a proposed budget. And if there is any changes to that amount that we get from OMB, certainly the committee will come back to the board just to make them aware of it. So our total amount for other than personal services is $19,900. And over here is the this is the object, and these are some codes that they have. The first thing is office supplies. We budgeted $500. Now that's mainly stationery. We actually are fully stocked. One thing I just want to make sure that everyone understands, we can transfer monies from one object code to the other. All right, so it's not that we're dedicated just because we budgeted $500 in stationery and office supplies doesn't mean we couldn't transfer that money over to someplace else. All right, so $500 was for stationery. The next one was printing supplies, and that's mainly office toner for the copy machine. $200. This is always there. We used to purchase paper from DCAS. So we just put the $200 there as items at the New York City Storehouse facility, although we've usually taken that money and transferred it over to another object code at times. Food and forage was water. Now we had a machine at one time, But now we actually don't purchase water, but we will be purchasing bottled water for the office and for the staff. So we just put $70 in there for that. This is for fiscal year 2023, starts on July 1st. Data processing supplies, software purchases, we put $500 in there for that. We don't really have any needs at this particular time. And let me just make another comment. We actually tried to spend as much as we could off of the 2022 budget for all the things that we needed in the office. And we consulted with Taya, and we had a meeting about that, so that we, all the other purchases that we had to make, so the office is fully stocked with equipment as well as with supplies and everything else. So I just wanted to make that, make mention of that to everybody. Telecommunications equipment, $686, hardware and software purchases. We just put that in that particular slot. Subscriptions is magazines, newspapers. You know, we used to purchase Barron's at one time. Right now, we haven't really purchased any. We don't have any current subscriptions, but we just left $150 there in case we wanted to purchase some in the future. Intercity telephone, that's really, we actually, that's the amount that DCAS, that we actually pay to DCAS, $2,960 for our telephone and internet, landline telephones and internet access. Let's see, the next line item is communications. So Zoom licenses, $900 we placed in that. Since, well, so actually, as a result of the pandemic, and then the fact that we are having most of our meetings now on Zoom, both committee meetings and our general board meetings and executive committee meetings, we've had a couple of the licenses that we had to purchase. So we put $900 in that budget line item for that, for Zoom licenses. Postage stamps. At one time, years ago, we had a postage meter, and which we never had to, as time went on and as we relied more and more on technology, most of our information gets sent out electronically. We very rarely send things out via mail, via US mail. However, we just wanted to make sure for the purchase of stamps, we don't have the postage meter anymore, and we're not being charged for that. And we did get all that money back, and we put it, went into the budget of 2022. So we budgeted $200 just for stamps for anything that we had to mail out. Local travel and meals. At one time, this used to be a larger number, but since we have been having remote meetings, usually the executive committee, we used to purchase sandwiches and water for the executive committee, but now this is mainly for staff travel and meals that are associated with the staff. So we put in $464 for that. Office equipment and maintenance, multifunction machine maintenance. That's the copier we have, and actually has some other functions. We had purchased a contract at one time, but however, we felt that it was not necessary to have that contract because I think it was parts and labor were, well, parts were additional. So we looked at historically, the times that we had to have maintenance on that machine. So $540 is what we put in there. As I said before, we can transfer money from from other object codes into that line item if we actually need it. Software licenses, data processing maintenance, software licenses that is for, let's say, Microsoft Office or some other software licenses that we might want to purchase. We placed $530 in that. The committee had agreed that training was absolutely essential for the staff. All right. So we put a nice piece of money in that, $11,800 for staff training. And it's in this area that it's sort of like a holding area for that. We didn't have any quotes, anything like that. When the staff is fully up to, when we're fully staffed in the office, then we will start to get training for everyone, matter of fact, all the staff. And that totals up to $19,900. And that's about, I think that's about all I wanted to say. about that, Mr. Chair, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Ms. Sala Gringer, can I get a second? Mr. Gordon, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand or indicate by coming on mute. Aye. Anyone opposed, please follow the same protocol. Any abstentions, please follow the same protocol. Thank you, Mr. Jordan, and thank you to the members. We have adopted the budget.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Health, Environment, and Social Services, and the chair is Mr. Brandon Smith.
Good evening, everyone. First, before I reel my liquor licenses, I want to encourage first, my vice chair is Nicole McKnight. Very grateful to have her, and want to make sure that you know that. I also want to note that we have the Brooklyn Community Board 2 Health Fair coming up June 25th at Commodore Barry Park, and we could really use some volunteers from folks on the community board who are interested in helping with the planning or potentially taking photographs at the event. If you're interested in that, it's going to be a great event. It's going to be 10 to 4 at Commodore Barry Park, or even if you just want to help with flyering ahead of time, there's a huge advertising effort needed for it, and we're working with a lot of partners and really could use your help, and be grateful to connect with you if you want to ping me on the chat or reach out to the board office, connect with me. I'd love to do it. But I'm going to get back to business, so we proceed with the meeting. The HES committee met last week, and we approved 4 liquor licenses. There is 4 liquor licenses, sorry. There's one on the agenda, 327 Gold, where they did not show up, so we're not going to do that one. The first one was 1 Water Street, and to take you through this one, we have an applicant who has come before us before with exactly the same application. It is for that pier area where the ice cream factory is down there in Dumbo. Out on the pier, they are going to have a restaurant that is kind of a oyster bar place called High Tide. And for the last couple of years, they've come to our committee and wanted to get this place open. And for one reason or another, whether it was COVID or something just didn't launch, they haven't been able to actually get the place opened there. And coming back to us, and a reminder to everybody, because you probably have heard this before, 10 a.m. to midnight every day is going to be their hours. It's going to be actually out on the Fulton Ferry Landing. And I think it wouldn't be fair not to mention that the Fulton Ferry Landing Association had come to our meeting, as they have every time this has been presented. And it's not that they express any sort of objection or disapproval to the application, but they have a concern that really relates to a matter that sits outside of the purview of the HES committee, which is that the New York City Economic Development Corporation has routed it so that 3 different ferries are doing their offloading and loading at this one dock, and it's creating a lot of overcrowding in their opinion. So much so that the Brooklyn Bridge Park Association attended our meeting and spoke about how they've been trying to take steps to mitigate the crowds. And the applicant had even expressed that they were willing to work with the Fulton Ferry Association to try to make sure the restaurant didn't interfere with these crowds. But when it got down to it, there wasn't anything changing from the previous application that we had approved. And with these matters kind of dealing with things outside of our purview, while the Fulton Ferry Association is very interested in solving this issue, the committee felt that the applicants was deserved to be approved, and we approved it by a margin of 6-0-0. The next item that we heard from was a location at 895 Fulton Street. The cross streets on this are between Vanderbilt and Clinton Avenue. The location is going to be a one customer bar with, a bar with 10 seats, background music only. The hours are until 10 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday, 1 a.m. Thursday to Friday, 1 a.m. on Saturday, it must be 1 a.m. Sunday and 2 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. There is no outdoor seating, and there were 26 signatures of support. No residents upstairs, some residents across the street. They plan to open next month. We approved it 7-0-0. Next item we had was 181 Front. 181 Front is between J and Bridge down on Front Street. This location is called Be Public. It is a coffee shop. Started in about 10 months ago, moving to a larger location here. There's going to be outdoor seating on the sidewalk. They got 100 signatures of support. Indoors, they're going to be open until 2 a.m. 7 days a week. Outdoors, they wanted to be open until 11 p.m. We had a discussion with them about how, and there were no residents from the community who came out to express anything about this application, but we want to be consistent with other locations in Dumbo, noting their narrow streets and the hours that we use for outdoor seating. So we got the applicant to agree to a 10 p.m. close on Sunday to Thursday, which is consistent with other businesses down there for the outdoors, and they can do 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. With those considerations, the application was approved 7-0-0. The final location that we heard from was 53 Bridge, a location known as Area 53. This is down in Vinegar Hill between Front and Water, and location is a laser tag place. It's going to be open from 10 a.m. to midnight. It's been in operation for several years. They want to have beer and wine service at their bar area, and that's the concern. We engaged them to try to understand how they would deal with applicants or occupants who are spilling out onto the street. We asked them about how they would manage underage drinking. I think it's fair to say, because we ended up approving this by a margin of 4-1-2, that some of the committee members were a little concerned about the way the applicant answered the question, in the way that it seemed the applicant would say things like, I'm not the sort of person who would allow these kind of things to happen, kind of implying that he was maybe a more qualified applicant than others, maybe because of his status. But there were no community members who had showed up at this location to express any concern. It is going to be background music only. We asked if they'd engaged with the Vinegar Hill Association. They said they had not. And putting all of these things together, we agreed to approve the application 4-1-2 with the notation that they would agree to end their alcohol sales at 11:30 p.m., which was 30 minutes earlier than they had originally indicated. So the final tally on that 4-1-2, and the two people who are the one person who was opposed was concerned about the manner in which the applicant had responded, and that was the reason why they felt that way. And I think that sums up my report on the liquor license application. So happy to take it as anyone prefers.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to I'm going to look for a recommendation to accept the new full liquor applications, which is High Tide, Vessel, and Be Public. And so I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Quint, second by Mr. Gordon. Is there any discussion on the motion? Ms. Allegringer?
Yes, Brandon, you were talking about, I think, Be Public, which said that they had changed the outdoor hours as a result of the discussion at the committee. But what about the indoor hours? Is that still 2 a.m.?
Correct. It's still 2 a.m.
Okay. And did you say about the Vessel that it's a 10-seat bar?
The Vessel is, 895 Fulton. The bar has 10 seats. Let me double check the application, which I have in front of me. Or actually, I don't have the application in front of me because I don't think I ever got that one. But the minutes indicate that it's 10 seats.
And that's the total of, okay, thank you.
Gotcha. It looks like Mr. Dew has a question. I saw that his hand is raised.
I see his hand.
Sorry.
Mr. Dew, I need you to hold your question, unfortunately. Hold your question for me. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please either raise your hand or come off mute and say aye.
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 Any abstentions? Please follow the same protocol. Anyone opposed, please follow the same protocol. It looks unanimous. Okay, great. The next item I want to discuss is, or entertain a motion for, is the committee's recommendation for the new wine, beer, and cider for 53 Bridge, known as Area 53. So I entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Mr. Gordon, can I find a second? Ms. Gelbs? I'm sorry, Ms. Morales, I'm gonna take Ms. Gelbs this time. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, great. All in favor, either raise your hand or come off mute. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
I saw one opposed, one abstention. When is that what you saw too?
Okay, perfect.
I'm abstaining also,
Yeah, we got you.
Okay.
All right, so the committee's recommendation passes. Next up on the agenda is the Land Use Committee.
Okay, thank you, Chair Lanny. Carlton Gordon. On the Landmark Land Use Committee, we have a couple tonight of certificates of appropriateness for the Landmark Preservation Commission. Our co-chair is Daughtry Christoffen, and our secretary works when she can, is Karen Johnson. Thanks, especially Karen, for her work on this matter. The first one is 357 Claremont Avenue, which is also known as the Bishop McLaughlin Memorial High School, which we did approve 9-0. And the work basically is there's work to be done around I guess we can consider it the backside of the high school. And what they're trying to do is work on some of the concrete slabs that are around there. They're doing some removal of it. And one of the big things they want to do is an ADA compliance ramp, which would also assist those students and people and staff who need assistance. And one of the other things that they are going to do is some electrical work in which they'll be more months, and especially again at the rear, because looking towards the athletic field and that open space that they have in the back. And one of the things that the local community groups were concerned about was the design. They felt that the original design was a little too Gothic, I guess is the best way to put it. And what they suggested, and which was to use the type of lamps. These are basically electric lamps that'll be lighting around the area, and they'll use the type of lamps that they use at Central Park. And the people who, architects and staff at the high school liked it and agreed with it. And so we got along with that, and that was approved 900. The second item is 1 Willow Place in the Brooklyn Heights Historic District. And this was an interesting situation. We did eventually approve this application at 800. We did reject the previous applications as we felt that it was just basically too expansive. We did have some concerns with the fact that it's a 4-unit building that's going down to 1, but that could not be taken into account for making a vote as to what the size of the eventual size or layout of the building would be. But we liked the more modified work that the applicant came up with for 1 Willow Place. They'll be doing some work, especially on the front for some of the windows. They're going to modify the windows to kind of make it a nicer, we thought it was a nicer effort. Brooklyn Heights Association, while they had initial problems with the whole application, they felt that this particular aspect of the windows at the front was something they could live with. There'll be some work on the parapets as well. And also at the rear, one of the things that they were concerned, there was some concern from Brooklyn Heights Association that the work on the rear, they'll be opening up doing a lot of glass and work. There'll be a lot of windows which would face another building in this particular, I guess, square lot. And not the block, actually, I should say the block. But they felt that the applicants felt that this is something they could live with, and we could live with it as well. That it was not that they felt they could live with additional, let's say, windows at the rear, which would face other buildings on that particular block, square, let's say the rectangular block. We could live with it as well. And there were some other items. Yes, it was some work, on the bulkhead and doing some work on the HVAC, on setting up an HVAC system as well. We liked it after our initial concerns, but we did like it and we approved it 800. And those are our I guess our applications, and we ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I'm going to break up the committee recommendations. So we'll start with the first application. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation for 357 Claremont, Bishop Lockton Memorial High School. Ms. Feibush, with the second by, okay, I'm looking for a second. Ms. Thurston. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand or indicate aye by coming off mute. Is there anyone opposed? And Jessica, I'm going to recuse myself because I sit on and I serve as the chair of the Board of Governors for Bishop Lockton Memorial High School.
That sounds good.
All right. Perfect. The next item we're going to entertain a motion for is the second item, which is 1 Willow Place in Brooklyn Heights. Entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Mr. Flanoy, can I get a second? Mr. Ferrera. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none.
Wait, can I ask a question? Sorry.
Go ahead, Brandon.
This is a motion to disapprove?
No, motion to approve.
Motion to approve. That's what the committee.
Oh,
motion
okay.
was
I
for,
thought
to
I saw
approve.
something on there.
Yeah, that
about
was,
disapproving.
No, it's to
Yeah,
approve.
just to clarify.
I got it, Carlton. It was to approve.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It was unanimous.
Okay.
8-0-0.
all right, thank you.
Is there any discussion, any further discussion on the motion? Okay, great. All in favor, either raise your hand or indicate aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next committee to report this evening is Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, Mr. Singletary. I'm Barbara Zoller Gringer, the chair of the committee. My co-chair who is here is Andrew Lastawecki. Just a reminder that we're meeting again this coming Monday, a week earlier than normal, and we will have, among our guests, we will have representative from the New York City Parks Department. I'm very pleased to present this report this evening for a letter of support for a multi-use court at Bridge Park 3. This is an area right near Susan Smith McKinney, the new park, and it's kind of neglected. It isn't really used much. I was there the other day. There's another area right near there that's very active. It's a basketball section. And I don't have to tell you what a premium green space is, or how much people want green space and want to do things. And I think this request kind of highlights the need and focuses on the need for more space in our district to do things. And I think this is a wonderful suggestion here. We had heard before this request from the New York City Bike Polo group that's playing polo on bicycles. They spend a lot of time in Brooklyn. Their problem is finding a right space to be able to do the bike polo. And what they've done is they're working on putting together a coalition, which right now includes Brooklyn Pickleball and the Brooklyn Lacrosse Club, which is box lacrosse, and they're working with street soccer and hockey to form a coalition so that this space could be created, a surface be created so that all of those groups could use this space. And they're all crying out for places to go. And the idea that you could take a space like this, which is not being used, which is not in good condition, this group has already shown that they care about the spaces they use, that they'll take good care of them. And they're asking for a letter of support to the Parks Department, the borough president, and the two council members involved here to find the funding to create this multi-use court. There are other multi-use courts of this ilk around the world. They're very successful. And I have to tell you, if you're familiar at all with Squib Park, which for years has been totally unused. I was there the other day and pickleball had 3 courts set up. It was wonderful to see a space that has been going to waste being used by so many people. And other people were calling, I saw people talking to someone there, how do we get involved? How can we do this? And I think this would be a wonderful repurposing of this space, which is neglected and not used at the moment. So this, our committee voted 6-0-0 to support this proposal to issue a letter in support. And we've already, at least preliminarily, supported it in our entries into the statement of needs. So we're asking for your support of this proposal.
Thank you, Barbara. I'll
You're
entertain
welcome.
a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Ms. Feinbush, second, Mr. Gordon. Is there any discussion on the motion? Ms. Peterson?
I think you're muted, Denise.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. I just have a question. I saw a piece there, something about collaboration. And I thought, have the residents have been included in any conversation that are in close proximity, Farragut being one, a part of any conversation or discussion as it relates to that plan?
That's a good question. I don't recall offhand anyone from the neighborhood per se, talking about it. I know Ms. Quint's on our committee and who's been very much involved in the Stewart Park. She certainly spoke about it, but beyond that, I don't recall. Andrew, do you recall if anybody from the neighborhood spoke about it at our last meeting?
Well, were they given an opportunity, or are they aware of this plan so that they can have the opportunity? Is there any input, anything happen there, or the plan is the plan and the surrounding area gets to have no input into the conversation?
So let me chime in for a minute.
Mhm.
Just, and some of this may be a little bit of information for even some of our new members. The committee and the board and the district office, what we've always done is we send out our notice to a full, robust list of individuals that includes many members of the community. And so their participation in how they engage in the committees is not something that we can control. And historically, as we've done for other issues, even the items that we just voted on and approved for other actions, we don't go through any specific or targeted engagement. And so if representatives have not shown up at this late hour, given that we now have a motion on the table, I don't know that there can be a better answer than we don't know.
Well, I see in the chat that Mr. Otto, who's spoken to us about this, has reached out to the Farragut houses on this, but has not been able to schedule a meeting as yet.
That's fantastic, but last I checked, Mr. Otto is not a member of the board, and the question was directed to us.
Oh, okay.
So the answer I gave, I think, is sufficient. Ms. Peterson, you have any further comments or questions?
I don't, except that I would have hoped that, that would have been the case. And I understand that when there's public meeting information in places where people should go to find out what's happening, that it is their responsibility to do so. But I think when organizations, doesn't have to be the community board, when organizations are putting forth something that they in fact, could consider, going a step further and doing that sort of outreach to engage that community. Otherwise, it just seems another left out kind of situation. So, but I thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Mr. Scala.
Good evening, Mr. Singletary. Barbara, what's the surface of that going to be?
I can't speak to that exactly, although I believe there was some discussion about it. But I think it's if we could allow Mr. Otto to answer the question, he could, it's a surface that would be conducive to any of these groups. But
I'm sorry, Mr. Otto can't answer. That's something that the committee should be able to answer.
You had mentioned in your opening remarks that we want to extend the community to have some green. So I'm assuming that this is not going to be green surface or grass because of what you said it's going to be used for. I would just throw out to you that the organization should try, if they're doing something, to include some green. I don't know what the surface is going to be, but I would just hope that they would accommodate the community and have some greenery there. That's all my comment.
Thank you. Ms. Morales?
Hi, hello, everyone. I also had the same concerns that Ms. Peterson had. I just want to state that in my 10+ years working in the Lower East Side, similar situations happened with like parks space where some claimed were underutilized and they were either on NYCHA property or near it. Same thing happened. In the end, NYCHA residents have been locked out of their park. So I see that someone, Mr. Odo is here, and I have some concerns, and I just want to state that I think it should be a priority. And if this meeting can happen, you know, I see he says is they're working on it, but I would want that to be a priority, because I wouldn't want to see what happened in the Lower East Side 10 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morales. Cynthia?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a statement in terms of if the park, the new park is refurbished. Yes. I just want to, I'm not clear on who would man the games. I just would like to state that if it's the Parks Department or the group that proposed this idea, that it remains inclusive. And that was really my comment.
Thank you. Ms. Scott, Lisa Scott?
Hi, I'm new to the community board, but I just wanted to echo what Ms. Peterson was actually saying, because of the fact that I have been working with some of the members of Fair to Housing specifically.
Ms. Scott?
Yes. Can you
I hate to interrupt. I'm sorry. Can you go a little closer to the microphone? It's hard to hear you.
I do apologize. I said, hi, my name is Lisa Scott, and I'm relatively new to the community board. But I have been working with the members of the Farragut Housing through gardening. We've been doing, I have a small independent school not too far from the area, and we have been doing like a lot of gardening projects, etc. The weekend, and I don't live far from there as well, during the weekend, the place is being utilized. I mean, I think that during the summer months and the spring months when the weather is warm, we see there's a lot of occasions where families are having birthday parties or celebrations in that space. I do think it's necessary for someone to reach out to and connect with individuals that are currently part of Farragut Housing, so that they just feel that they are not being railroaded in some ways or bulldozed into a plan that they didn't have any voice in. I think that's, I mean, I understand that this is now up to voting and everything else, but I just wanted to put my voice out there so people know that if people have not connected with the community board in some way, can I be this person who maybe can make that connection? Because we have been working on different projects together throughout the year.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Ms. Einhorn? Lindsay? Okay, so all in favor of the committee's recommendation, either raise your hand or say aye. Opposed, please follow the same protocol. Abstentions, please follow the same protocol.
Give me 1 second on abstentions. I'm so sorry. I just
No,
want
take your time.
So I saw on oppose, I saw Betty, Melinda, Monique, Denise, Santia, Lisa.
I didn't mean to raise my hand. Sorry. Lower it.
I'm sorry, who was
Sorry,
that?
I didn't understand that.
Jessica.
Is that Melinda?
I believe that was Miss Scott. Miss Scott.
Oh no, this is Melinda. Yeah, I was trying to say that.
Melinda, toss it in the chat. I can't hear you, girl.
Yeah, your connection is bad, unfortunately.
Yep.
Jessica Esther Blunt opposed.
Okay, thank you, Esther.
And Latrell opposed too.
Thank you, Latrell.
Aisha,
Maisha, you're opposed? Okay, thank you. And then,
So wait,
Oh,
hold on,
Melinda,
Jessica,
okay.
hold on.
Yeah.
Does that conclude all those who are opposed? Okay, great. Now let's go through abstentions, but we're gonna do this slow. Everybody who abstains, do me a favor. Keep your hand up. And if you already voted, please, if you voted digitally, please take your hand down. If you already voted once, take your hand down so I don't double count or triple count or quadruple count you. Please take your hand down. So everyone who's opposed, and I will call this out as best as I can to help you out, Jessica. So I have Kate.
thank you. This is abstentions.
Yep, this is abstentions. I have Mr. Smith, Brandon.
Yeah.
I have Miss Williams, Cheryl Williams. I have Leroy Lee. I have Carolyn Herbert coming and Weary. And unless I'm blind, that's all I see.
Melinda and Kate.
No, well, I already have Kate.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 8 opposed, 8 abstentions. Does that match your total?
Sounds right to me.
Let me just do some very quick head math. It passes.
Motion passes.
And how many were in favor?
40 minus 16 were in favor,
So
24.
we'll capture that in a minute.
Thank you.
We'll move on. We'll capture that in a minute. So I'm not looking at anybody to do air math. That's good. But before we move from this, let me just use this. I think it's helpful every so often for us to have instances that translate into teachable moments, right? So no one did anything wrong. It's just a teachable moment. As I put this forth as a reminder to all of us, myself included, that as we engage with items that include various aspects of our committee and the community, let's try to encourage, at least ask the questions of who was contacted, who was reached out to. I applaud Mr. Otto for attending the meeting and providing additional information in the chat, which was helpful. But that's the responsibility of us, not Mr. Otto. I'm glad that he was here. But as a teachable moment, if we can get in the habit of asking how wide, how deep, and how broad of a net was cast to get information, get feedback, that only makes sure that we have a robust response when we're making a vote, and that we've done our job to be as inclusive as possible. So this is a good opportunity for us to learn from. So thank you. That concludes items that are listed for items to vote on tonight, action items. However, in the chair's report, I do have one additional item. So historically, and I see no reason why we need to change that now, we take July and August off from having general body meetings. In order for us to continue to do so, should any items come up, I, as chair, ask for a motion that authorizes the executive committee to act on behalf of the full board for any items that require action during July and August, given that this would be our last meeting. So with that, I'm going to entertain a motion. I see Mr. Quint. I see a second from Mr. Jordan. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand or come up mute and say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone who opposes? Again, is anyone opposed? Is there anybody who's abstaining? I appreciate that everyone is not sympathetic and cares about the executive committee having to come in over July and August, but no, hopefully that doesn't have to happen. So thank you all. So that act of business is completed. Let me run through the rest of my items. First, I want to welcome our 12 new members to the community board. We have 12 new members to the community board. some of which you've already engaged and heard them speak and vote on tonight. That addition of 12 members now brings us up to 49 members. So we have 49 listed active members of the community board. I want to welcome all of the new members, some of which who are, and it's important to note this, are midterm appointments. And so as a midterm appointment, you are finishing out the term of someone who already started a term. So it's important that when that term concludes, that you be in close contact with the board office, so that should you wish to reapply, you can reapply. And I wouldn't want anyone to miss the opportunity to reapply. So with that, what I'm going to do now is just list the first name of each of these individuals who are now members of the board, because we generally work on a first name basis. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Andrew. And if you're present, when I call your name, if you're present and you're able to do so, if you come off, show your face, come off mute, let us just hear your voice and say hi, that would be really helpful. So let me start with Andrew.
Hi, Andy, actually prefer, but thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
I'll make note of that, Andy. Thank you.
Of course.
Mackenzie.
Hello.
Hi, Mackenzie. Welcome.
Hi.
Rachel.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you as well. Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Thomas. Leroy.
Hi, all. Nice to meet you, everybody.
Nice to meet you, Leroy. I think this is Melinda.
Melinda is here. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Melinda. Welcome. Jonathan.
Hi, nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you, Jonathan. Ellis.
Hi, nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you. Lisa.
Hello, nice to meet everyone. Hi.
Nice to meet you, Lisa. Cheryl.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Douglas.
Hi, Lenny. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Everyone else, nice to see you too.
And Jeffrey.
Good evening. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice
Thank
to meet you. So there you have our 12 newest board members to the community board. You have, and I'm glad that you've already done so, been engaged. You are full voting members. You got the secret handshake, the raccoon lodge, all of that. You get to vote and be convinced, have as much conviction in your vote as everyone else. The good thing about being a new board member is there's no seniority. You get to have the same rights and privileges as everyone else, but that also includes the responsibility. And so later on, there'll be things that we require your assistance in, and we welcome your input because you represent a group of constituents where your voice does matter. And so with that, we thank everyone for participating. Additionally, I want to just mention a few more things. I had the privilege, and I won't say much about it. I'll let the representatives today speak more about it, but I had the privilege of joining the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new library that was introduced today at Cadman Plaza. If you haven't had the opportunity to do so, I think everyone within the sound of my voice and beyond should visit that library. It is an amazing library. It is a project that I think many people had doubts when we were engaging in that process, but I think you will definitely see that the Adams Street and that branch is amazing. And so I encourage everyone to go in there and be pleasantly surprised at the thoughtfulness that went into the project. And so I encourage everyone to attend. The chair of the transportation and I, along with Atea, we had a very good meeting with the Department of Transportation about many items, one of which included open streets, but it wasn't really a meeting about open streets. It was really a meeting where we engaged to be more transparent, maybe set forth a process that allows the community board to have more of a say and an engagement in it, but also a process that allows for the community to be aware of how this process works. So to give similarity, and I have to give credit to Taya for this concept, when it comes to liquor licenses, as an example, they come to us, a committee vets it, we bring it before the full board, and we move forward and then make a recommendation to the agency. What we're trying to see is if that concept, and I don't know, we're still evaluating all of the nuances about how the DOT receives the applications, But the thought is, can we engage in a process like that or something similar? And we believe that a process like that would be more inclusive and transparent and allow for things to take place in a way that you don't just step out your home one day and just be surprised that something has taken place. And I will say DOT was very receptive to the idea. There are some additional conversations that have to take place. But as someone who participated in the meeting, I think we're off to a very good start. And I credit DOT for being receptive to thinking a little differently. In like manner, last week, we participated along with Lincoln Restler's office, the Department of Homeless Services, and the lead applicant, or the vendor, if you will, or the city partner, Black Vest for Social Justice, in a conversation and information session about a new shelter that is coming to our district. Again, it was a great conversation. I think many individuals felt like they were heard and more information was shared. To be clear, that was not a public hearing. We were not required to do so by the charter, but it was important for me, and I think all of us agree, that part of our role is to share information. And so that meeting, I think, facilitated that. I want to thank everyone involved in helping to make that a successful meeting. And I commend those who participated, either as people who physically asked questions, those who engaged in the chat, and those who emailed their questions in advance. So thank you all for that. I do want to just mention that we have not received any official word on what the future will hold when it comes to hybrid meetings. As all of us know, this meeting we're having now is a result of the pandemic. And so there's been no clear direction of what the future will hold. And so what I would suggest everyone do is plan that based on what we know at this hour, and when we return from the summer months, which would be our first meeting in September, you should come with the mindset that we're going to be meeting in person, right? Should that change, we will definitely send a notification out to the board so that everyone is aware of that, as well as our community partners and stakeholders. But for now, based on the information that we're aware of, you should be prepared that we will be meeting in person. And the office, we are taking the right steps to make sure that we can secure space as soon as possible, should we have to work in that direction. And with that, I just want to do one last reminder and do a shout out for Mr. Smith, as he mentioned, the first Community Board 2 health fair. So I encourage everyone to participate if you can. The committee and community has worked very hard to help put that together. And I hope that everyone would engage and support that effort. It is something that I think will be a benefit. And again, as a proud chairperson, I think it's another example of why I feel Community Board 2 is the best community board in the city. So with that, let me move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our city agencies, community partners, our elected officials and dignitaries. And I hope that they're still on, but I do recall seeing Assemblywoman Joanne Simon. Joanne, are you still on? Hi, the floor is yours, Assemblywoman.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I am juggling Zooms here, so I just spoke to CB6. So I was able to maximize my time while you guys were voting on your various measures. So thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you tonight because this is the last for the season, unless you. I didn't see what the vote was. Are you meeting during the summer or not? I'm sorry.
I hope not.
But... I hope not. Okay. Well, I hope you are able to take the traditional summer break from community board work. Sometimes that doesn't work out, but I hope you're able to do that. So I just wanted to say hello. We're back from the wars in Albany, as you might imagine. It was a very long, grueling last couple of weeks. Particularly the last week with a lot of late nights and an all-nighter on. I've done more all-nighters as a legislator and litigator than I ever did in school, I have to tell you. So it sometimes is a little bit challenging. In any event, I did want to report, there are a couple of things that I think is really important for people to know. You know, we really took action to secure the not only the right but the access to abortion as healthcare and to contraception, for example, which we know is also in danger by the Supreme Court. So we're anticipating that Roe versus Wade will be overturned, at least in part. And so we are making sure that New York is a welcome state, a sanctuary state for those seeking reproductive health care from other states that may have less access to it going forward. We know that if Roe is overturned, 26 states will immediately restrict or outright ban access to abortion. So we've been working on that. We also passed the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act, which makes New York have really the strongest voting rights act in the entire country. I'm very proud to have been a co-sponsor of that effort. Our Brooklyn legislators, Senator Myrie and Assemblymember Latrice Walker, who are both chairs of the elections committee, led the fight for that. They're the lead sponsors of those bills. And as I said, I'm very proud that we voted on them, and I'm very proud that New York is now really in the forefront of voting rights. We also acted to expand speed cameras, the school area speed cameras, 24 hours. That's going to be very important to helping reduce speeding. The overall data does show that when speed cameras are in effect, that speeds are reduced. Yes, there are always people who don't pay attention and don't pay their tickets, and that exists as well. And we have to look at enforcement efforts, and it's something I'll be talking with City DOT about. But the reality is that we have had a real drop off in speeding in those areas and during those timeframes. For example, when the speed cameras have been in operation, they will now be in operation 24 hours a day, so that you can't be buzzing by at 2 a.m, endangering the lives of anybody who might be out, and speeding. So that is a really important. I'm very pleased that we were able to do that. And I know that you spoke about the Brooklyn Heights Library. I was there this morning. It was great. I saw Mr. Singletary there. It's a really beautiful space. I'm really proud of it, and really want to thank all of the people who were involved in making that happen. All I get to do is enjoy it. I'm not one of the architects. I'm not one of the people who were staffing it, but really everybody pulled together and did a really amazing job there. We also acted to reduce class size in the later days. We did reauthorize mayoral control for 2 years. We empowered a commission that will be looking at mayoral control and what's working about it, what may not be working about it, because, we're making decisions based on rhetoric here. There was an initial proposal that was made by Mayor Bloomberg in terms of our data, in terms of our students. We may be graduating kids from high school, but many of them can't read. And we're not talking about just people with reading disabilities. 38% of our fourth graders are reading proficiently. That's been a problem for decades. Mayoral control didn't change that. So what did it change? How did it change it? Are these good changes? Are they not good changes? What can we do about mayoral control to make it work better for the children and the families in New York City? So that's what the commission will be looking at. I had a bill to reduce class size. It was a little more sort of full and complicated, but we passed a version of class size reduction in conjunction with the effort to provide a greater parent involvement in the PEP and in other areas of the CECs, for example, when it comes to mayoral control. And class size is a really important part of that. It's an important part for learning, but it is also an important part for the mayor's initiatives, which are about dyslexia and screening and teaching kids how to read in a way that conforms to brain science. It's an issue I've been working on for many years, and smaller class size will have to help to make that happen, because if the class size is too large, it'll be much more difficult to accomplish that really important goal that certainly the mayor shares. And then the last thing I just want to mention is that we had the Build Public Renewables Act. It did not pass. It's Assemblymember Bobby Carroll's bill. I'm the second co-sponsor of that bill. We weren't able to get that done, even though there was a lot of advocacy. We will be having a hearing in July 28th. So people who want to contribute, if you know organizations or people who are very active in the space with regard to the environment and the reduction of carbon in our environment, please encourage them to participate in the hearing. If you are not invited to speak at a hearing, you can also always submit testimony through email. So I encourage people to look at that, and certainly the Assembly staff will be working on developing I'm sure, a lengthy list of people who will be testifying with regard to this issue in July. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And if not, I'll just stop because I know you've been here for quite some time.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Simon. As is our custom, we always ask if you could stick around for 3 questions. And so if so, I'll open it up to board members, all board members who have the first 3 questions. So if so, please raise your hand. Aren't you lucky?
There you have it.
Joanne, always a pleasure. Good seeing you today in person. Thank you for all the work that you do. And you always have an open invitation to the community board too.
Thank you so much. And listen, the other thing that I had talked about previously, and it affects some of community board 2 and some that not, and that is the redistricting lines. We had all this litigation. There's still litigation about the assembly lines, which is late litigation. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but the congressional lines are set. The state Senate lines are set. Much of a good bit of Community Board 2 will now be in Congressional District 10. So that is something people need to know. I, of course, am involved in that race in a different way right now, but that will be part of Community Board 2 will be in that district, and the other will be in Community District 8 going forward.
That's helpful. Thank you for that update. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you. And everybody have a wonderful summer.
You as well. Next up, we have Councilmember Lincoln Restler.
Great. Chair Singletary and all the fine members of CB2 and the community, it's great to be with you. I think that Congresswoman Velázquez is also in District 7, stretching a good chunk of Fort Greene and a very small slice of Dumbo as well. So she'll continue to be a part of CB2, just not, things have indeed shifted a lot on the congressional lines. But first and foremost, I want to welcome the new members of the board, and for the folks who've transitioned off the board, thank them for their great service and their hard work in the community. I'm really excited about the handful of new folks that we had the privilege of appointing to CB2, and we tried our best to coordinate with the chair about where some of the expertise gaps and areas where the board could use some additional support, and just am thrilled by the quality and the caliber of the people that applied to join the board, and the diverse set of folks from across our portion of CB2 that we've been able to appoint, from downtown Brooklyn to Dumbo to Bridge Plaza to Borum Hill. Really a great set of people. So look forward to your service. And of course, me and my team are here as a resource to all the members of CB2 and the broader community in any ways we can. Just want to echo Lenny and Joanne that the opening today of the library over at Conant Plaza was special. That was my childhood library. I'm a huge fan of our Brooklyn Public Library system. I served on the board. I helped found a group called the Brooklyn Vanguard to get young professionals involved in supporting our library, and to be there today to see what I am certain is the most beautiful library branch in the city of New York open in our community was really special. There'd been a lot of agita and consternation and even vitriol on this one over the years, but I think it really did work out in the end. And so if you haven't made it there yet, please do. And when we are back to meeting in person, they have an incredible community room that fits 250 people. That's going to be a great resource for CB2 and for the whole Brooklyn Heights community. Another really special event that we had yesterday, just a couple blocks away at 44 Court, was the expansion of the Planned Parenthood center that we have in our community. They did a beautiful renovation, and in these dark times when we are looking at some pretty draconian changes happening imminently, to see such a bright, beautiful, welcoming reproductive health and center that will provide abortion services and gender affirming care to all people in need was really beautiful. It was a special day, and that the renovations will allow them to expand their services by 25%, which is great for New York City. In addition to that, I wanted to just highlight that we put out a package of bills last week that I know are near and dear to many in CB2 around placards. So we proposed a bold new bill that would revoke tens of thousands of city placards that go to city, state, and federal officials that allow government workers and contractors to just park wherever they want, their own personal vehicles, to park them wherever they want. It is a crisis in downtown Brooklyn and the adjacent areas. And in addition to that, we've reintroduced legislation that my predecessor, Steve Levin, had helped to originally draft that would allow for a citizen enforcement mechanism as well, where some of our partner agencies have not done enough to hold placard abusers accountable. So I am hopeful that we finally have a real path to addressing placard abuse across our community. And I wanted to just thank the chair, Brandon, Taya, and everybody on the CB2 team who partnered with us on what I thought was a really informative forum last week on the planned shelter for Black that will be run by Black Vets for Social Justice at 316 Atlantic. They are planning to open that site in the fall. We're going to be creating a community advisory board there. If you missed that, it was recorded, and we'll make sure that folks have access to it. But I really just, as always, want to thank CB2 for being such a diligent and thoughtful partner, committed to help making sure that the information that our neighborhood needs is accessible. And just a couple quick things on Dumbo related stuff. We've been getting a lot of complaints about congestion in Dumbo of late, some of which is created by the large DDC project that we have there to expand sewer infrastructure and expand catch basin capacity that will really help with future flooding issues and accommodate the needs of a rapidly growing Dumbo community. Just last week, we brought out the Brooklyn DOT commissioner and the DDC commissioner and others, and we're putting together, I think, an aggressive action plan to try to address many of the congestion-related conditions that residents in the neighborhood are frustrated by. We've also been meeting actively with the MTA around ideas to expand York Street capacity with Assemblymember Simon and others. And I know that they're committed to come back to Community Board 2 swiftly. So we should have more updates and more discussion on that in the near future. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is that we are in the throes of the budget process. I think it could be resolved quickly, or it could be a couple more weeks. We will see. But we're fighting with everything we got to make sure that our schools and our parks and all of our great community-based organizations have the resources they need. And if there are any ways in which I can be helpful or my team can be helpful, Arvind is on here who covers CB2 for us, and he is superb. So never hesitate to reach out to us if we can be of assistance. And as always, I just really, Lenny said that CB2 is the best community board in New York City, and I am definitely biased as a former member. But I have to agree with you because you all do a terrific job, and I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of the work, the thoughtfulness you bring to this work. It is hard to be, the volunteer work is hard, and I really appreciate how much the people of this board put into trying to make our community better. So thank you all for everything you do, and I hope for those who I'm not going to see over the summer that you all have a phenomenal summer. Happy to take any questions if folks have any for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Restler. Again, if there are any board members who have 3 questions, please raise your hand and the council member will be around to answer 3 questions. Thank you, Councilmember Restler. Have a good evening.
Have a great night. Thanks so much.
Next, I want to call on Mr. Tony Herbert. He is the representative for the Mayor's Office of Community Assistance, and he's director for Borough Brooklyn. Tony, good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, or should I say good evening, everybody, on this awesome summer month. Celebrating my birthday, so I'm excited about the day as it is because I had great weather. But I definitely wanted to make sure that I was committed to bringing forward some information that the mayor is putting forward. Quite to the contrary, what you hear in the media, that this man is not doing his job. He's doing a lot of work, and trust me, I know, because I spent a lot of hours trying to follow behind him and making sure that we're able to communicate those means of great excellence he's putting out there. I.e., similar to that, as you know, he's in Washington, D.C. today, where he delivered testimony to an oversight committee on reform of the national gun violence epidemic. I need not tell you about the gun violence in New York, having been an advocate for the last 20 years working on that issue. So, we look forward to him and the work that he's doing with Chairman Nydia, where they issued a joint statement talking about the number of mass shootings that have taken place and what has to go put into play in order to make sure that we're all safe. And what I'll do is, in the interest of time, because I know you've been on here for a while, I will post a link to all of the efforts that the mayor's working on inside the chat for you to take at your leisure to be able to go over that. Just wanted to point out a few things. The mayor did made the announcement of the opening enrollment for DSNY sanitation workers. We could always use more sanitation workers to ensure our streets stay clean so we can get rid of these rats. The mayor also delivered remarks with Governor Hochul at the signing of legislation to convert hotels into affordable housing. And I'll leave it at that. There's a plethora of things that he's actually put in play, and I could never really get it all through. I'd take up your whole time frame. So I'll put the link in the chat, and I look forward to seeing you guys in, when we come back in September. And I will be here and making myself accessible to the chair and to the district manager and to all of you. I put my contact information in the chat as well. And I look forward to serving you as the mayor's rep here in the borough of Brooklyn. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Tony. Thank you so much. Next up, we're going to call S.Johnson from Senator Kavanagh's office.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so hello again from Senator Kavanaugh's office. The senator's back in New York City full time after the session is over. There was a comprehensive package of bills to close loopholes in the gun laws and another package of bills to protect abortion rights in New York State. I know you got a lot of that information from Joanne Simon already. I'll just touch on some of the gun laws. Two of the 10 were sponsored by Senator Kavanagh. One of those was to prohibit the purchase of body armor, and the other requires that recovered guns are reported to a clearinghouse for data sharing. Another piece of notable legislation in that package is that they will expand who can file an extreme risk protection order. So that's the red flag laws. So not only health professionals can now file those extreme risk protection orders, but police are also going to be required to do so. Then there's also a bill that Senator Kavanagh sponsored that passed, which is the hotel conversion bill, making it easier to convert hotels to residential housing, which the mayor, as you just heard, was also very supportive of and helped make that happen. And I'm skipping through a few things because they were already mentioned. There were some disappointments, of course, as there always are, especially related to climate change. So his senator's All Electric Buildings Act did not pass the Assembly, and neither did the Public Renewables Act. I'm glad to hear from Joanne Simon that there's going to be a hearing on that in July. It was also a disappointment that good cause eviction wasn't brought to a vote, but the senator did sponsor a bill that passed that will establish a commission on housing affordability. And so he will continue to work towards ways to keep people in their homes. I also learned today that the different organizations around the city that will help you apply for ERAP funding, most of those are losing their funding by the end of the month. So it's a good time right now that if you do want to apply, whether it's to just secure your legal right to stay in your home, or if you're actually hoping that the funding does come through and that you can access some of that ERAP funding, the clock is ticking, so do that before the end of the month. But just generally, the senator is really happy to be back in New York City full time and to join all the many in-person events that will be happening in the next couple months. So although you might not have meetings, hopefully we'll see you in person outside. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. We appreciate your participation in that update. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Next up, I'm going to call on Andrew Wright, representing Councilmember Crystal Hudson.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair Singletary, and great to see y'all, and especially the new members. It's good to see some familiar faces as well. I will be brief. I actually mean brief. So I just want to say that Councilmember Hudson introduced 4 bills last Thursday that addressed her Black agenda for New York City. I can put a link in the chat for y'all to look at that. It's basically a roadmap for the council to deliver, immediate and equitable solutions to some of the most, pressing issues facing our city: housing, education, childcare, public safety, you name it, it's in there. So the 4 bills include a doula access bill to ensure that folks who need a doula or midwife have access to that. That's because the maternal mortality rate for Black women is significantly higher than that for white women. And there's another law that would create a task force to figure out how to get universal childcare in New York. We have a patchwork of systems, and this bill would, in part, work at finding out how we can make sure that all children under 5 have childcare. Another bill to curb discrimination against rent-regulated tenants. A lot of folks don't have access to things like amenities in their old building because they have, Section 8 vouchers or whatnot. So we're looking to try to end that. And then the fun one, which is a resolution to declare June as Caribbean Heritage Month. Throughout the 35th district, we have a massive Caribbean population, and we want to make sure we can celebrate folks by honoring their contributions to our district. So those are 4 bills. We're going to have a ton more moving forward that attest to that Black agenda. And then a few more things. So Brooklyn Pride is this weekend. So we're looking forward to seeing you all out on the streets. We're going to be marching with the City Council, but also Brooklyn Community Pride Center. So if you want to march, feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to see you there. We're also going to have a bunch more events this month for Pride, Father's Day, and Caribbean Heritage Month. So we'll be sure to send those along to the community board, and they'll also be out through our newsletter. And then lastly, the last thing I'm going to say is our office has a housing specialist in every Wednesday from 12 to 6:30. So if you or anyone you know needs help with anything at all relating to housing, it could be SCREE or DRE renewal, it could be an issue with your lease, problems with your landlord, reach out to us. I'll put a link in the chat of where you can sign up for an appointment, but we definitely want to have anyone who needs any help in our office. And then lastly, any questions at all about legislation, budget issues, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll put my email again in the chat for folks who don't have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. J.Watkins, who is representing Kings County District Attorney Eric Gonzalez.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. D. Gonzalez sends his well wishes, and as usual is out meeting and greeting the public here in Brooklyn today and most evenings. The DA has had a robust slate of community activities over the past several weeks. Most recently,
regulated market rate unit.
Most recently, the Asian American Pacific Islander celebration that we had about a week and a half ago. That was very well attended, celebrating our Asian American Pacific Islander community. Also, and most currently, the DA will be participating this week in a number of community events that will include the Brooklyn Pride March, as well as the Brooklyn Puerto Rican Parade that will be taking place on Sunday afternoon, as well as the festival there. So the DA will be out, as well as many of the Kings County District Attorney staff will be joining him, marching and supporting these efforts in the community. I'd like to bring your attention to one of our press releases that just came out today about an event that the DA will be hosting tomorrow. And it is a youth violence anti-gun summit that will be taking place at the Restoration Center in Brooklyn. And this is to meet and educate our young people, especially high school age students in the community, to engage them about what they feel are some of the pressing issues that are impacting their lives, as well as to speak with them about gun issues and how to prevent gun violence. So this will be pretty much a full day event starting tomorrow morning and going through the afternoon. And the DA will be presenting and engaging with these young people, and really just to kind of get their thoughts and inputs, as well as setting the stage for some future action that they can take as young people in our community. The last thing I'd like to alert you to is this week's New Yorker magazine, in which the DA had a mention in the Talk of the Town section. And this week's edition of the New Yorker is very important because it really is focusing on gun violence. And the DA has some remarks in that section of the New Yorker. And on the area of gun violence, the DA, of course, is working very closely in light of the recent horrific incidents of gun violence and mass shootings in this state, in the city, and around the country. He's engaging with the governor and other elected officials, both on the local and national level, to try to find some solutions to this. Everyone have a great summer, a safe summer, and we'll see you in September. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. We appreciate your continued support and as a regular representing DA Gonzalez. So as I go through the list, I don't see that we have any other elected officials or their direct representatives. So I'm going to move forward with the next agenda item, which is committees to report. This evening, we have 3 committees. We have the Economic Development and Employment Committee, Transportation and Public Safety Committee, Youth Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. For the benefit of our new board members, what we try to do is whenever there is a committee that does not have an action item, so that the committees do have a voice and they can continue to inform everyone what's taking place. If they don't have an action item, we set aside time for them to provide updates, and so we're clear on what's happening. And that way there's a report given from everyone. So for the purpose of those who see some names, and as you move along, you'll see different names pop up in this section, it's usually based on whether or not they've already had an opportunity to present some of the items they're working on. So with that, let me introduce the first committee, which is Economic Development and Employment, chaired by Mr. Bill Flournoy.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. I'd like to recognize my co-chair, Denise Peterson, and my secretary, Catherine Gilman. At the committee meeting that we had yesterday, we focused on the statement of district needs. I started the meeting off by basically giving an idea of all the items that might be necessary for the committee, for the district to look at, and then allowed my committee members to decide which actions they actually want to follow up on. It was a robust conversation. One of the things we decided was we wanted to resubmit several items from previous years. Those items were funding business incubators within the industry, the district, both co-work and research and lab space. We also wanted to continue the Love Your Local grant program. We also want to extend enforcement against black market sale of permits, both new and existing permits. We also want to establish a local hiring program focused on achieving greater racial and social economic equity for small business owners. We want to continue doing that. And we also wanted to create and incentivize job training programs in key industries and facilitate living wage opportunities for disadvantaged individuals. These are all items that we have submitted previously, and we want to continue with those programs going forward under district statement of needs. The other thing we wanted to focus on, new items, was career and job training. That's something that we continue to always ask for. We also asked for training and employment opportunities to the new shelter residents that are moving into the district. One of the items that we want to do is make sure that not only they come into the shelter, but also have opportunities to leave the shelter and actually have gainful employment to go forward in their lives. We also want to have a collaboration between agencies for monthly job and training announcements in the district. We want that digital and flyered. One of the things that happens is a lot of job opportunities come up, but unfortunately, it's not disseminated throughout the entire district. We want a method in which that's disseminated so that everyone has an opportunity to see what's occurring. We also want to do direct outreach to the NYCHA complexes, all 4 complexes, to facilitate applying and passing for the work exams that are being posted by the different agencies. Currently, right now, I've already initiated outreach to all 4 NYCHAs, housing developments, because I want them to start participating directly with the Economic Development and Employment Committee, so they have an actual direct pipeline to what's going on within the district. And I want them also to actually have input within our committee. And finally, we wanted to also initiate a program to activate the vacant rental storefronts throughout our district. Currently, there's quite a few vacant storefronts, and we want to figure out a way to have those activated, even if this is into basically chopping them up to allow small businesses, to actually have access to those spaces for lower rents. If there's a way of doing that, it's actually having it subsidized. Once we did that, one of the things we also did was I appointed or asked individual committee members to actually take up each one of the items that we're going to move forward on for the district statement of needs. The reason we want to do that is we want to make sure that there's enough information so that when the agencies take a look at our requests, that these requests are actually approved. So what we're looking to do as far as identifying things, we're looking to identify whether it's a capital expense or capital expense, or if it's a funding expense, whatever the case may be. We also want to figure out which city agency we have to apply to. We also want to notify which specific location the problem is occurring so they know about this. We want to explain what the problem actually is so they understand what the problem is. We also want to make sure we can get outside confirmation from sources outside of the district that also mention that this is a problem. We also want to explain what the result and solution is. So we wish to see what the solution to this problem actually is. Not that we're just bringing it forward, but we want to let them know what the solution is that we want to see. We're also going to bring forth policy data and history to support the proposed idea. And finally, we want to identify community partners, okay, who are willing to also support these proposals. So that's what we're looking at right now. We went through it was a very thorough conversation. It lasted for about 2 hours. And there are other things that we brought up that we feel that wasn't within our purview that other committees can actually address. And we'll probably reach out to those committees to actually give our input also. And that's my report, Chair Secretary.
Thank you, Bill. Next committee to report is Transportation and Public Safety. The chair for that committee is Mr. Sidney Meyer, and he's a little under the weather, nothing serious. So he's not on this evening. I'll ask the co-chair, Esther Brown, if she has a report. Esther, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Transportation meeting was held May 19th, I believe. And Department of Transportation was supposed to be there, but at about 2 days before, they said they wasn't able to come. We were supposed to get an update on Willoughby Avenue, but obviously we didn't have it because they didn't show up. We did see a presentation about the new downtown Brooklyn shared streets, which will be on Willoughby, Fleet Street. Oh, just a minute, I'm sorry.
Take your time, it's all right.
And part of Flatbush, I believe. They wanna they're gonna add curve extensions and shorten pedestrian crossing on select streets, add planters, street furniture, and new signage and bicycle corrals. Thank you, Tanya. Traffic calming measures with an advisory of 5 miles per hour. Additional signage asphalt art to pedestrian spaces. You can see some of it that Tanya was nice enough to put up the proposal. The other presentation that we had was the Skimmerhorn Vision Zero plan. It is not complete. They wanted input from Community Board 2, and some members was able to say a few words about it. So the Skimmerhorn Vision Zero plan is, believe they making Skimmerhorn a one-way. Hold on one second. Or the proposal is to make Skimmerhorn a one-way.
Yeah, proposal. It's not final, but it's
no, it's not final.
Yeah.
And boy, I can't see. All right, y'all got to bear with me. This is my first presentation as the co-chair of Transportation Committee.
You're doing a fine job. Don't worry about it. And listen, you're doing a fine job. We put you here because you're qualified, and you can feel free to stop if you like as well. So it's okay.
I think I'm about ready to stop. I'm trying to find one more thing, but I think that's it. Oh, Tanya was again nice enough to put up the and thank you very much.
Great job, Esther. Thank you. And again, congratulations. I'm glad you accepted the role as Vice Chair. You're doing a fantastic job. And for those who may not have had an opportunity to participate in the committee meeting, the notes always come out and the minutes are always robust and they're clear. So please pay attention to the minutes. And I would encourage everyone who has a transportation concern or an idea they think could be helpful within the district to attend the committee for transportation and public safety. But in that regard, attend all the committees, and particularly for the new board members, whether you're assigned to a committee or not, I encourage you to attend every committee because then you'll learn and you'll get a sense for how the different chairs deal with the issues that come before us, but you'll also get a sense of the issues that are important to the representatives that we serve as board members. So again, great job. Last committee to report for this evening is the Youth Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. That committee is chaired by Betty Fibers.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. I want to recognize my co-chair, Dorothea Thompson Manning. Before I go into the report of the last meeting, I want to echo the sentiments made by others about the opening of the Brooklyn Heights branch of the Brooklyn Public Library. I was there today for the speeches and the ribbon cutting. This is truly an awesome building. I mean, you walk in and the light, the architecture, the way the space is arranged, children's space, teen space, separate space for reflection and quiet reading and writing, all new books, and an energetic staff. So of course we encourage everybody to visit and visit often. One of the points that was made was it was a long time, but it represents a partnership between the Brooklyn Public Library, the Friends of the Library, community members, community board, elected officials, city agencies, and so much more. So it was a real, it was a lot of work, but it was a real good example of collaboration on behalf of the communities and the neighbors that we serve. So it was a remarkable experience. Okay, so next, on our last meeting in May, we heard from quite a remarkable artist, Fred Wilson, who will have an installation in Columbus Park, also known as Cadman Plaza Park, in front of the court. It's called Mind Forged Manacles, Manacle Forged Minds. This will be a sculpture with African figures behind iron facing and bars. It'll be 10 feet high and 18 feet wide. There'll be rubber under some of the work to protect the pavement. It's being installed at the end of June. It will be on display from June.
I just said, let's go. And she's like, what's Ravi doing?
What?
Yeah, I think Lindsay's multitasking. Continue.
Okay. So it will be on display for a year. So it's the end of June of this year till next year. There was a collaboration with the Brooklyn Historic Society and others about this rich subject matter. Oh, there's a picture. Thank you, Taya. So the artist described his Caribbean ancestry and going down to Jamaica and how many of the homes have these decorative ironwork kind of in front and protecting the home. And then of course, there's the thinking about incarceration and people being behind bars. So it's kind of very, very deep. There will be some signage, but they really want people to reflect upon the imagery and make up their own mind. They're not going to say, you know, this is what it is. So It talks about imprisonment, mass incarceration, and the African-American experience. It's like they're going to get kids there in camp groups, and the artist is going to be there during the farmers market time on Saturday so that the artist will interact with the public. So it is very exciting. We didn't need to take a vote on this. This is part of art in the parks and under the Parks Department auspices. So that was very exciting. We also spoke about our priorities for the next year, similar to what Mr. Flanoy said, in terms of having a very robust process. So we'll have a chance of getting some of our ideas through the statement of district needs. So we will be working more on that in our meeting in June, as well as hearing our students. Now, our committee, the Youth Education and Cultural Affairs, we have youth council. So we recruit high school students to be on our committee and also to attend other committees and to really look into an issue and study it and report out. So we're excited that our young people will be sharing their work with us. And it's the 4th Wednesday of June, and I hope to see a lot of you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. We appreciate that update, and thank you to all the chairs and co-chairs. Next on our agenda is agenda item number 9. This is where we hear from representatives from the city agencies, not to be confused with the elected officials, and our community partners. And what I ask is, if all of those individuals who fall in the category of community partner or representative from a city agency, if you would identify yourself in the chat, it makes it easier for us to call upon you. So first, let me call the group that we've been talking about all night and her friends, our good friends from the Brooklyn Public Library. So they usually come in as a trio, and so we're going to turn it over to the Brooklyn Public Library to introduce themselves as they choose. So.
Thank you, Chair Singletary, and good evening, Community Board too. It's so nice to see everybody here. I am here to be actually 2 of the normal 3 that you typically see each month. Rachel Tiemann has been very, very busy pulling together with her amazing staff the grand opening of the Brooklyn Heights Library. Brooklyn Heights Library will have 7-day-a-week service beginning July 10th. Until then, it's Monday through Saturday. I just want to commend my colleagues over there at the Brooklyn Heights Library. It's just a beautiful, beautiful space. And the architects, Marvel Architects, did just a fantastic job. And please, of course, stop by. And of course, I'm also representing my, I like to call it the little sibling library in Dumbo, the Adam Street Library. I want to mention that we recently won a American Institute of Architects and American Library Association Award for the architecture in that space, which will be presented at this month's ALA General Conference. Very exciting. And I have a feeling that the Brooklyn Heights Library may also be eligible for the 2022 award. And of course, we opened in 21. And yes, I love it too. My other announcement for that library, the Adam Street Library, is you can now book our meeting rooms online with your library card. That's a nice, seamless way to do it. So check that out. Our meeting rooms are smaller than the Brooklyn Heights ones. Our larger one will hold up to 20 people, and our smaller one up to 8, 9. Like that, yeah, 8 or 9. And the final thing, I'm so excited that I'll see y'all with Brandon and his team and the Farragut stakeholders in Latrell at the community health fair in the Commodore Barry Park, which is a fantastic park. I did a program over there over the past 6 weeks. Love it. And finally, before I turn it over to my colleague Tracy and Clinton Hill, come march with us for Pride. I know it's lots of people here marching in Brooklyn Pride this Saturday. BPL will also be taking part with Drag Story Hour. So hope to see you there. And yeah, I'll toss it over to Tracy. Thank you so much. And thank you for the accolades all night long for the phenomenal work my colleagues did at the Brooklyn Heights Library.
Good evening, everyone. On the 25th, the Clinton Hill branch is having a Friends of the Library book swap. So those of you who don't make it out to Commodore Perry Park for the books there, you can come to the Clinton Hill branch and drop off books and get free books. We're also kicking off a major summer of concerts. For June, we've got Make Music New York. They're having a blues jam. Everyone is welcome outside the library on the 21st. On the 22nd, we're having Musica, a music performance for kids. And then in July, we're looking forward to having Afras, and we're also going to be having the Art Lillard Trio back. So all of that's on our website. We're going to be having a crafts for adults, and we've restarted crafts for kids on Wednesdays. And you don't need to register for those, you can come. Also, summer reading started last weekend, so you can go into any Brooklyn Public Library and your kids can sign up for summer reading. They can get game boards, they can get prizes, they can get reading lists. And we're encouraging everyone to come in and celebrate the summer at all of our locations and read a lot. And I'd like to wish everyone a really good summer, and I look forward to actually seeing you in person in the fall. Good night.
Thank you to our friends at the library. We really appreciate how you continually show up to the meetings, always give robust updates. And again, it bears repeating, please, please do yourself a favor and go take a look at this wonderful new library. And by the way, I have to acknowledge and commend Betty Freibush. As we were talking to Rachel, she immediately said, we want to hold our meetings here if we have to go back in person. So she didn't waste any time. I thought that was spot on, Betty. Good job. Next up to report, we have representatives from the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Hi, Chair Singletary, thank you. Hello, everybody. I will be brief as well, since I know this is our last meeting. I just wanted to invite you down to the yard this summer. You won't have your community board meetings or your committee meetings to go to. So come on down with that extra time you have back this summer. Usually I drop a link in the chat to some of the programs, some other things. I'm just
Ethan, you went back on mute.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. I was trying to put the link in the chat. Appreciate it. The link's in there. That's the website. All the things I've talked about this year, coming to visit the yard, learning about the companies that are at the yard, bringing your company to the yard, getting a job at the yard, coming to the employment center and getting help on your resume. All those things you can find on the website. So I won't talk too much more on those, just again, to be brief here as we wrap up this last meeting. And then the second link I'm putting in is to a program that I talked about at our last meeting. Our employment center does adult training programs, and one of the ones they're doing is CNC training. That's computer numerated control. These are machines that, if you think of all the tools that are in a traditional manufacturing shop, they're all put into one machine that can be controlled by a computer, which folks learn how to operate, and it's a very good career. There's a lot of companies at the yard that need people who are trained on CNC machines. So if you go to this link, you'll see the second cohort is starting up. It'll be September 12th. It'll run every Saturday for 10 Saturdays. I just got this form today, so I will send it to you. And if you apply and get in, again, it's a great way to get training on these CNC machines. We have 5 slots open for community members. The program is free for community members. So please, anyone you know, have them apply. We'd love to get them in the program. And they do need when we say even for beginners, just some knowledge of a CNC. So if they've been in a business where they had the machines, they maybe know how to turn it on, some of the safety around it. But that's about all you need in terms of background or training to get into this cohort. And the last thing I will type in the chat is my email. And if anyone is looking to come down this summer, Building 92, the historic exhibit, is back open. Building 77 is open to you as well to come and eat and drink and see the public art. And so I'll drop my email in there, and please reach out if I can be of any help in facilitating a visit for you to the Brooklyn Navy Yard this summer. Thanks, everybody. And if I don't see you this summer at the yard, I'll see you in September.
Thank you. Next, we're going to call on Timothy Harrell from the CCRB.
Hello, good evening, Community Board 2. I'm going to make this really quick. Thank you for having me and giving me this time. Really quick, so just for those who know and those who don't, we're a New York City agency, independent and separate from the NYPD. And what we do is we investigate, we mediate, and in some cases, we prosecute allegations of misconduct against members of the NYPD. I just really wanted to make a quick announcement just to let you know that we are conducting presentations, whether in person or virtual. If you have any events that are coming up that you could give us an opportunity to table information that we would be more than happy to participate. Pretty much that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to call on the Red Cross, Richard Morrow.
Good evening, Chairperson Singletary and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Morrow. I'm the Greater New York Red Cross Community Relations Ambassador for Community Board 2. Around the country, there are presently 31 disaster relief operations. 37 are in the midsection of our eastern region of our country. All are climate change related. This week locally, we assisted 225 adults and 71 children following 52 fire emergency relief operations. I think it's going to work. In the chat, did I do it? Come on. I finally returned. Yes. All right. These are the things that I wanted to get in the last time I was here. These are the reports, the one about COVID, what we learned, the National Oceanic thing from the NOAA about the hurricane season, and a summary on the IPCC chart. So that's done. I'm glad about that. Let me go on, if I may. Okay. Tonight, I wanted to speak about our youth. Need our help. A new CDC survey shows significant increases in high school students reporting persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness, considering suicide or attempting suicide over the past decade, trends that have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. The National Council for Mental Well-Being has a program. I took the course. I'll see if I can hold it up. I got my certificate. I don't know if you can read it, it's backwards, but it's a great course. I recommend it for everyone, anybody that deals with children or just want to be aware of what's going on in our community. It's an incredible thing. I'm going to try to get this in the chat now. I think I learned how to do this like this. Hold on, let me just give me a second here. I'm almost done. I don't have too much more to talk about, but this is important. I'll never learn how to do it.
Richard, you can feel free to provide that information, post your report if it helps a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay. I think I got it. I just have to figure out how I.
Yeah, I just want to be respectful in moving you along.
Okay. Oh, thanks. I did it. Let me see here. Oh, right there, and paste. Got it. All right. That's a National Council. Yes. I'm including also my chat, my email address and my phone number in case during the summer there's an emergency, whether it's a hurricane or anything like that. Please, if you can't reach out to the Red Cross, you find it difficult, you contact me. I'll gladly connect you to all our services. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to try this again. Excuse me. I got to learn how to do this. Let me see. That was a quick one. There I am. And a reminder, the Red Cross virtual programs can help you in our community. Our courses are free. Please check out our website, redcross.org, for details and to view our programs. I would like to end this year's Red Cross presentation with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. It has been an honor and privilege for me to speak with you this year. We at the Red Cross wish you a thoughtful and safe summer recess.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Is there any other board business?
Sorry, this is the time for the community announcements?
No, it's not.
Okay, or community partners, because I'm representing a school.
That's not a partner. Hold on. So, any other board business?
Can I talk about the BSWAB meeting with the boards in Brooklyn, or is that the next section?
That's the next section. I'm
Thank you.
What's about any other community board 2 business? Lindsay?
Can I ask if there's an update on the hiring for the office?
There isn't.
Okay, any plan to address it over recess, or is it going to wait till the fall?
It'll be addressed momentarily, but we just had new board members, so we needed to make sure that we had everything in place. The new board members were acclimated, and so I would tell you to check your email and don't miss it within the next few days.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, great. So now we're moving on to a community forum and new business. This is the portion of the agenda where we get to hear from the community. And so this is left over to the community, not for board members. However, we do have board members who have dual hats, and sometimes they provide updates from other organizations where they're not acting on behalf of community board 2. And so with that, I remind everyone that you have 2 minutes. We ask that you please try to respect the 2-minute limit. And with that, let me start with Wal Rothbart, who will provide an update either on Friends of Abolitionist Place or Dock Street. Now, to be fair, we have representatives from Dock Street who come to the committee, so pick one.
Well, the report from Dock Street is short. Hi, everyone. Thanks for sticking around this long. I'm a parent at Dock Street, and the Dock Street PTA, as well as the staff, support the monument for the Black suffragists in Abolitionist Place, right next to 227 Abolitionist Place Park. So I just want to remind people that the school supports it. Luckily, my daughter's graduating from Dock Street Middle School, but next year I'll be at PS 915, which also supports the Sisters in Freedom Monument. So moving on to my other announcement, Friends of Abolitionist Place has been continuing our mission to celebrate the history of downtown Brooklyn. And this is not a solicitation. I got a message that shouldn't solicit anything. There's a free download about this history. It's basically an educational curriculum. It's really geared towards educators, so especially elementary school educators. So there's a ton of resources in there. I think there's just so much exciting information, and I'm also really glad to see that there's a new musical called Suffs. If anybody's seen it, you're very lucky. It just closed its run, but it also touches a lot on this history. So there's really kind of growing excitement about the history of downtown Brooklyn, and I'm very excited about the opportunity. I do want to mention something unrelated to that. I really want to stand up also for the open hearings law. There was a meeting recently of the DCLA, the Department of Cultural Affairs, which kicked out somebody because he was recording it, which is allowed under the public hearing laws. And then a representative of the EDC misrepresented his thing, said that he was being disruptive. He streamed the whole thing. It's very clear from the evidence that he was not being disruptive. He was defending his rights, and I just hope that the record is set that the public open meeting laws is an important thing, and I do support that law, and I hope the community board too speaks out in favor of that as well. So that's it. Thank you very much. I'll put my email in the chat for anybody who wants to stay.
Mr. Du. John Du.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, there you go.
I have two very quick ones, and I'm speaking on behalf of
My
Business
friend,
Improvement.
Mr. Du,
John,
Yes, do you hear me?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Do you hear me
my
now?
friend, my friend, I'm gonna stop your video feed, okay, John?
Yes, stop it.
Okay.
All right, John, try it again.
Maybe that's better. I'm
Yeah,
speaking on
that's
behalf of the Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District. One of our businesses on Myrtle Avenue near Adelphi was intentionally set on fire. And at some point, there was a red swastika placed on one of the walls inside of the business. Now, this also occurred on Myrtle Avenue outside of the Business Improvement District. We have footage of the culprit from internal to the business as well as the street, but the 88th precinct has not yet been able to identify a culprit. And I say that because this is a crime that's beginning to happen throughout New York City. The second item is that the G train Clinton and Washington Avenue subway station was vandalized and all of the entrance mechanisms were destroyed. And it's costing the MTA $10,000 or more to replace that. And that is, again, a relatively new crime, I think, in the district, but one that we need to be wary of. Thank you, Community Board 2.
Thank you, John. Next up, Betty Fibers.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. The Brooklyn Solid Waste Advisory Board, which advises the borough president on matters of composting, recycling, incineration, plastics, and those matters, is inviting the chair or a member of each community board in the district, in Brooklyn rather, the sanitation or environmental committee or a representative of that, so that we can have a Brooklyn-wide meeting. And it's basically for members of the SWAB, the Solid Waste Advisory, to hear about the concerns and issues in all the different communities, because we don't have representatives from each community district on the SWAB. So we're going to be listening, what are your issues? And we're going to see commonalities. We're going to be able to better advocate for our communities in terms of trash, rat mitigation, composting, recycling, but we want to hear from the communities what their major issues are. So I wanted to share that with you. That's on the 27th of June. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Is there anyone else from the public who I've not called and I didn't happily, maybe I missed your announcement in the chat, but is there anyone else? Oh, last but not least, my good friend, D.Wiley.
Hey Lenny, I'm coming to you. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. It was good seeing you at the Brooklyn Heights line.
Right, now I can't hear you.
From Sunset Park, waterfront, where I missed a boat.
Mr. Wiley, we're gonna cut your video too, okay?
So it benefited from some of the revenue thrown off by that project, as well as in Bushwick and Williamsburg, Greenpoint, Dumbo, and East New York. So a lot of these libraries have gotten improvements, ADA improvements, modernizations from benefiting from the Brooklyn Heights Library. I also want to mention that the Congresswoman was able to secure in the Water Resources Development Act a authorization for Army Corps to do flood resiliency feasibility study, looking at the Navy Yard into the future. So from Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, I just want to let you know that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dan. Again, just want to make sure we don't miss anyone. Is there anyone else from the community who's not had an opportunity to speak during this forum? Okay, great. Let me just say a few more things. So one, again, I welcome every new member to the community board. I thank you for participating. I'm looking forward to seeing all of your 12 faces on a regular basis. Please, if you have any reason you want to touch base with me, Taya would be happy to put my email address in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me or call the board office and they'll direct you to me should you have any questions. Again, I encourage you all, at least for the first few months, take a pass through, go through every committee, get yourself familiarized with what the committees do. More importantly, read the bylaws, be familiarized with the bylaws. At a later date, we will put through a request to get volunteers for a small ad hoc committee to review the bylaws. It's time for our bylaws to be reviewed. I think that's a proper thing to do. We should do every so often. So that will probably be something we take up in the second half of the season. Again, I thank everyone for participating virtually, either with face or without. That's the benefit of having virtual meetings, that you can get more people to participate. Sometimes you have to deal with a few hiccups here and there. Video doesn't work, people multitask, but more importantly, everybody participates. So I can live through all of those type of technical glitches, but the participation is key. For that, those who I will not have a chance to see the rest of this month, have a wonderful summer. I look forward to seeing you in September, unless something major happens. And for the rest, I'll see you during the next exec committee meeting. And again, all of the new members, you're invited to attend the exec committee meeting as well. And so then you can get an insight for how the exec committee operates and how we deal with issues in both. With that, I wish everyone a good night, get home safe. Those of you who are on the couch, don't trip to get to the kitchen, and good night.